everyone, welcome to Minimal Mindful Mama. I'm Katie Mixon. I am a mom to 4 kids under the age of 10, and I also have a degree in education and have been working in preschool classrooms for over 6 years. Today I'm excited to share with you some of my best tips for new parents that I personally wish I had known when I had my first daughter. I do want to preface this by saying that there are a lot of different ways to go about parenting. Every kid is different, every parent is different, and so you need to find what's going to work best for your family. But I think that you'll find that most of the tips that I'm going to be sharing today are not right versus wrong. They're just helpful information that I think that anyone could apply in any situation. So the first thing I want to talk about is actually a tip for you if you don't have children yet. Maybe you're thinking about having kids, or you're trying to conceive, or maybe you're pregnant. And if this is the case for you, then the 2 things that I would strongly suggest are 1, to educate yourself as much as possible about pregnancy and childbirth, and 2, to focus on your own health. I personally had some struggles with infertility, and something that I wish someone had told me would be, rather than focusing so much mental energy on trying to get pregnant, to focus more on getting myself as healthy as possible, because that's going to have the ripple effect of helping your fertility as well as giving your baby the best possible start in life. Our health is so important as moms or dads. It's going to have a huge impact on the health of the baby that you're bringing into the world, and it will set you up with good habits that will give you energy for parenting and raising this child to the best of your ability. I also think it's really important to educate yourself as much as possible as a mom or a dad about pregnancy and childbirth. I had read a lot of books, but there were still some things that surprised me. You can find videos of births to watch to get an idea of what that would be like, because the ones you see in the movies are nothing like the real thing. I think it's so helpful to be as prepared as possible, because there are so many things that can happen. There's so many tests that are offered, and knowing how you feel about these things can be really helpful in helping you to have a better experience. And the reason that I recommend this before you get pregnant is that sometimes it can be really hard to read about things that could go wrong while you're pregnant. And so I don't recommend doing that, but educating yourself and getting informed about your options is so helpful going into pregnancy. You can have such a smoother pregnancy and delivery. Of course, there are always things that will not go according to plan, but there are a lot of things that are preventable or that you can make informed choices about. So if you're excited about becoming a new parent, definitely focus on your own personal health and educate yourself as much as possible. My second tip is in a similar strain, and that is to educate yourself as a parent. So whether you have no kids or you have a lot of kids, whether you have young toddlers or teenagers, as parents, we should always be growing and learning. This is an advantage that I think many of our parents didn't have. There were a few parenting books out there, but now we have so much information and resources available to us that it can sometimes even be overwhelming. So I definitely recommend reading some parenting books or follow a parenting expert. There's courses that you can take, whichever way feels most natural to you, to be a lifelong learner as a parent. And keep in mind that there are so many parenting styles out there. So if one recommendation isn't really sitting right with you, keep looking until you find some advice that you feel will really work for you and for your family. Raising children is not the kind of thing where you want to just be guessing and figuring it out as you go. There are going to be things that come up where you're totally blindsided and don't know how to handle, but that's why it's so important to continue learning and educating yourself as a parent so that you can try to be the best parent for that child that you can be. If you perhaps had a difficult childhood, I also would recommend trying some therapy. You don't want your own past to reflect on how you're raising this child. And so making sure that you work through your own stuff first to the best of your ability will be so helpful in not allowing that to alter or reflect on the way that you parent. Next, Expect to change and grow. What works now is great for now, but it might not work next year. You're always going to be learning and growing and having to be flexible and find new strategies that will work for you as a parent. That's why having those resources and constantly learning is so important, so that you can be prepared for the next stage, or at least have somewhere to turn when you're completely surprised by the next stage. Also, keep in mind that your childhood is very different than the children that we're raising now. Aside from the fact that it was a different generation, you are a different person than your parent, and your partner is a different person than your parents, and your child is a different person than you were and that your siblings were. And so what worked for your parents with their children might not work for you and for your children. Everyone has different personalities and different strengths and different weaknesses. So try not to compare yourself to your parents or think, oh, well, my mom was so good at this, why can I not manage to get it together in this area? And also, don't let yourself think, well, I turned out okay and my parents did this, so it's fine if I keep doing it that same exact way. You're raising a totally unique human being who has never been raised before. So flexibility and learning and growing is going to be so important. My next tip is to find community and build your network. When you're a brand new mom, go to all of the mom things. You can feel out which ones are a good fit for you and then only go to those ones. But it is so important to try to find those mom friends. And don't only look for someone who's exactly like you with the same ages of kids. Those friends are great, but you need to be building your network. So look for those moms who are a little bit ahead of you, who can give you all the advice and the hand-me-downs. Look for the moms who are a little bit behind you, who might look to you for advice, and who maybe are so fully in the baby stage that they would love to have a conversation with your older kid who's constantly asking you why. Look for moms with different strengths. So look for the mom with the messy house who you can help out or who can make you feel better about yourself. Look for the mom who is just perfect in every way and hosts the most amazing things that you could never pull off. Look for the mom who loves arts and crafts and messy play so that your kids can do that at her house and have that experience without you having to facilitate it. Look for the mom who's all about getting outside. Just because another mom is doing something differently or has different interests or strengths doesn't mean that she's not a valuable addition to your mama network. My next tip is to figure out your priorities as a parent and as a family in this season, and then simplify everything else. Parenting is a lot of work. It takes so much energy. You are literally laying down your life on a daily basis for this other tiny human. So if there's things that are not important to you, whether they're activities or clutter in your home, let it go. You cannot do all of the things, and you don't need to do all of the things. Especially if you have a child who needs more specialized attention, it will be so helpful to you to keep your house clutter-free and simple and not have a lot of things everywhere. If sports are really important to you, then maybe that will become the focus and you'll have a less well-stocked craft center. This is a very broad statement, so it's something that you'll have to think through for a long time as a family and determine what your priorities are and what you can cut out of your schedule. But keeping your life as simple as possible can be really helpful in this parenting season. My next tip is to always be building onto your child's skills and practicing towards the next step. This is something that I don't think I really did with my first daughter because I wasn't in that mindset. I was a new parent. I was enjoying watching her grow and seeing her discover new skills, but I wasn't really being intentional about helping her to build towards that next step. So you can find developmental milestone checklists online. There's a lot of different ones. They all kind of are different and they're by age groups. So if you look at those, you can kind of see the areas where your child excels or maybe needs a little bit of extra practice. And you can also look at the next age group one so that you can see what things you're working towards next. So for example, one of the 2-year-old developmental milestones is stacking a tower of 5 blocks. So maybe you have a 1-year-old and you know that they're not there yet. They don't need to be there yet. That's a 2-year-old skill. However, it is something that you can be thinking about, and you can provide them with blocks and show them how to stack one on top of another. They can practice that skill, and then they can build onto it so that they will reach that developmental milestone by 2. That's just one example. There's a lot of different areas that this could apply to, but children are so smart. And if you're able to build on each of their skills and work towards those next skills, they will catch on so quickly and have such a great start in life. Think about those baby steps that you can help them to take, because a lot of times it's not about our children's capabilities, it's about their learned habits. Now, when I say this, I'm not saying to push your children really, really hard and have them sit and do work all day. I just think that it's helpful as a parent to kind of have that in your head, and then to choose one thing to slowly be working on and introducing into your life. As a teacher, I've seen a lot of kids who maybe haven't had much practice with fine motor, or maybe they struggle more in gross motor. And a lot of times the parent will say, oh, I never thought about giving them crayons. They just love running around so much. Or vice versa, maybe they have a child who loves to sit and color, and so they've never really practiced hopping on one foot. So keeping those things in mind and then incorporating them into play and introducing a variety of fun activities is really important. And of course, your kid might just not enjoy coloring as much, and that's totally fine. But it's still something that you can provide them the exposure to. The 2 final things I want to share are advice that other moms gave me that I have found really helpful in my parenting. The first is that if you let your child do something at home, they will do it other places. So if you let your child stand on the couch at home, they're probably going to do it when you go to someone else's house. If you let your baby pull all of the pots and pans out of the cabinets at home, when you go to someone else's house, they will go to the cabinets and pull out all their pots and pans. As they're older, they can start to understand the difference between home rules and rules for other places. But especially for babies and toddlers, I thought this was really helpful advice. So with my daughter, I actually stopped letting her pull all the pots and pans out of my cabinets because I didn't want that to be something she did at friends' houses. So keep this in mind as you determine your house rules and boundaries. Think about if this is a behavior that you would want your child to do in someone else's home, and then maybe set some home boundaries around that as well. And the final piece of advice that someone once told me is to never be the first one to let go of a hug. I think that that is so sweet, and something that I've tried to implement when my kids hug me, to not be the first one to let go. Sometimes I've been surprised by how long of a hug my kids need. A lot of times we as moms can be so busy and in such a hurry that it's easy to just quickly hug someone and let go and move on. But I think that that is just such a sweet piece of advice, to stop and take the moment and connect with your child. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed these tips. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite piece of parenting advice you've ever received is. I'd love to hear it, whether it was helpful or horrible or funny or anywhere in between. Before you go, I would so appreciate it if you would like and subscribe down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon in the next video.